time for an update. We got to update everything. We've gotten comfortable with how we live and the way we do things. We don't have to kill the food that we put on the table. Hell, we don't have to cook the food that we put on the table. And we've gotten a little lackadaisical, and we've let things slide, and we've let our government kind of do whatever they want, and we've kind of hidden and had some ideas. And with technology, and we've got all the social medias, it's allowed people to live in their own bubble, and find so many different sources of information. But it's almost like there's not a war on information, but there's an overload, and we're not getting things done. And the internet is now this weird place that you want to let your children into, but you have to have a block on some things, because it is this crazy place. And the internet that's a totally different topic, but it leads me to, we update our phones, we update our cars, we want new clothes, and I'm victim. I am fall victim to this, but I don't think that is necessarily bad. I just think that we need to update the way that we do things and look at things in a different manner. We've learned so much, when we go to school in history class, learn from your history so it doesn't repeat itself. But many times in my life, I've heard history repeats itself. And so I feel like at this moment, we've got all this information and all this technology that gives us the ability to make these decisions and be informed. And before, I think that we as America weren't as involved in the last couple years in everything that's going on. And now with information, there's so much you can do. There's so many different ways that sometimes it's hard to stay back on track, or what are we really focusing on? And it's crazy to me that just this last month in Texas, there was a law put in for abortion, and it made it so that if you're 6 weeks pregnant and you find out, and you can't have an abortion after that. I remember hearing about an abortion stuff when I was 14 and thinking, why do we care? What does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with America as the citizens? Do we really concern ourselves that much with that, or can we talk about something that matters? 13 years later, 14 years later, I'm 27, and we're still talking about it. We just put a new law to make it harder for them to do it, for a woman to do that, especially young women who don't even necessarily know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. That is why I feel like we need an update. We need an update on our education. Let me take a step back. How did we get here? I think that greed has been the focal point of America's being for too long. And it is greed that has led us astray from our path. We need to get back to realizing that is just a monetary value. But the people of America is what America is about. We left Great Britain to leave the tyranny and what was going on there at the time, to make a new idea and have these things and have the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence to protect its citizens. And Martin Luther King, I just recently said that it's your moral objective to disobey the laws that are unjust. Gandhi also mentioned something similar about you must disobey when you know in your heart what is right. And I think that that's kind of where we're at, is so many people know in their heart that we need to make a change. We need to do something, but it's hard to. And I don't know what to do. That's why I'm making this podcast. That's why I make music, because I want to get my message out to as many people as possible that I know are wanting the same thing, because I wanted this. I wanted to hear this message. For the last 10 years of my life, 10 years of my life, I've been waiting to hear this message that I'm speaking about now. And my life's culmination leading up to this was, how can I get my message across, and how can I say something? And this is my way, this is my thing, because again, we have let greed be our leading force and our driving factor, and we need to get back to the human aspect. And I think the world does too. We're at this place where we know we've got issues, but we're not dealing with them. We know we've got, you can talk about climate change, how we mass produce and kill these animals and these farming things, and we know it's bad. We know there's a black hole basically in the Gulf of Mexico, that it's a dead zone there. That's from the runoff from agriculture, and we know these things, but we're not really doing anything better, because you can still go to any fast food place and you can be gluttonous, and we are gluttonous. And again, we just need to update and realize what we've done and move forward in a better light and in a better way, because we know we can do better. And some of the things that I think we need to do better on: education. We've got this place where private school is really where, nowadays the best education is a private school. They are just giving information out. Why can't we not give this information to everybody? Why do we need a private school? If public education is supposed to be free, it's supposed to be worthy. And we need better children to become better adults. And the education system now is teaching kids how to regurgitate information, not learn, and not want to learn. If you can't teach a kid to learn, then what are we telling our children? What are we bringing into the future? A living wage. Everybody should be able to live. No matter what job you have, you should be able to have a home, food, and transportation. The bus, I'm totally good with buses and trains and subways. Those are incredible things too. But everybody should be able to have a living wage that they can sustain themselves and their family. At the end of the day, everybody wants to be able to provide and live a happy life. Not the average, because that's not the right word, but the America, and everybody in the world. I've been so fortunate. I've gotten to travel, and one of the things when I traveled to Italy, we were doing some business there, and they were talking about, or I noticed seeing there were so many people with Vespas and smaller cars, and there wasn't many nice cars. It was everybody seemed to be on a very similar level, and I heard it from many Italians as well, that they don't necessarily need the newest thing. They don't need the most. They just want to be able to live and be happy. They're so much more focused on that, and you feel it when you're there. Like, that is their main goal, is just to, they just want to be happy citizens. And yeah, they have their own problems. Nobody's perfect. And this place is, America and the world that we live in now is the best version of any world that anybody's ever lived in. We have so much technology. We have all this information at our hands, right? We need to work on homelessness and mental health. Those things kind of go hand in hand. We don't really teach about mental health. The only way to get any mental health help is through a therapist. And yeah, technology has also given a lot of different places the ability to do online therapy and all of these other things, which are great avenues. But we need to teach from a young age about emotions and about these skills that you really use in the world, not just what 2 + 2. Math is great, but we also need to teach the other things that are human to kids and to everybody. Drugs, the war on drugs that we're still in, and still have not stopped anybody really from doing drugs. There is still a huge epidemic that was done, not primarily, but a part of the pharmaceutical company that was making so much money that they were able to have literal towns that were built off the backs of people being addicted to the opioids. And not just that, we're allowing and enabling a cartel to live in Mexico because we have illegal drugs. So they just come in from other ways, just like the prohibition. They still got alcohol. What happened? We got over it. We learned that, hey, look, give the people what they want. If people want to do these things, they should be able to do them, and they should be able to get a pretty good quality of it, because now we're bringing fentanyl in and we're killing people left and right. In the last 2 months, I know of at least 3 people, firsthand or through a friend, who have died from fentanyl. I just heard about this party in LA that happened and 3 celebrities died. Not that that should raise more alarm because they're in a celebrity, but it's happening more and more and more because there's no good quality of drugs. And folks, if you're sending, it's a 50-50 split. Kids are going to try them, but let's teach them about them. Let's give them something that is beneficial to them and not going to ruin their body. Have we gotten anywhere with the war on drugs but enabled the cartel to bring them in illegally? Why don't we make money off that? If we're talking about taxes, let's make more tax money. With the marijuana, that's the cannabis that's been legalized in Seattle and Denver and Nevada and Oregon, we've gotten a generous amount of tax money from it because we tax it. Let's make it educational and learn from it. And another thing I kind of want to touch on, and I'll just say it and then I'll say my bit afterwards, but reparations. In 1934, via the Federal Housing Administration that was built or formed at that time, it made it nearly impossible for people of color to get the same loans that a white family could get. And this made people of color go to lower income housing, and some of them are still there. And there's some that have moved and branched out, and that is incredible. But that time, that was generationally put in, and that hurt a lot of families. And again, I don't think I'm the one to tell you what is the right reparations. And I also don't know if I'm the correct one to say, hey, look, this is how we need to have an education system. But I think that the right person is out there. I think that there is people for all of these things that have a correct viewpoint and perspective that can enlighten so many people. Our politicians have failed us. This kind of goes back to the greed thing, you know. I think that the politicians are supposed to serve the people. And I think right now they're serving their self-interests and the interests of the rich. And many other people, you know, in search of riches have not failed us, but have they've been able to, you know, and greed has led them along the way because that's what's been good and that's been our driving factor. And so when they see, you know, when you think that your politicians are doing it, it makes it easier for somebody else to do it as well because they see that there are leaders. They're the people who we are supposed to, you know, they're supposed to be looking out for us. And I think at some point they were, and maybe they never have, but fuck that. As an American citizen, as a man who's grown up here in Las Vegas and seen some of the world, and I try to look at it from an outside perspective that we only have one earth, we only have this one thing, and we hear it so much, but like, what are, you know, we don't really get to act upon it. And I think that it's time that we get to do something to act upon it. Because regardless of our beliefs, our future depends on us. And I want to give a better future and a better opportunity to my children than, not that was given to me. Cause it's not about it's not about what's happened. Because just like with the phone thing, we can talk about the politicians. We can't say it's their fault because it's our fault too. We're just as involved, you know. We're just as included in it because we let it happen. But again, we're here now. So we need to work from where we're at. And yeah, this is my way of trying to save the world. Thanks for coming to the first episode of the Rose Garden Podcast.
There you go, bud.
Dude. Holy.
Yeah.